and also feel free to interrupt at any time and fire away questions. So as much of an interactive dialogue and discussion, the better. So please feel free to be an active participant and ask questions.
Yep.
Okay. So from there, we want to sort of take a deep dive into the Metro design language, which is our design language for Windows Phone, which is brand new. And I'm not a designer, but I'm very interested in design after sort of going through this journey of design that sort of started with Windows Phone. So it's Danwei who's going to hold that presentation. And from there, we're actually going to do some own sketches and some own designs using our tools in SketchFlow. So that's going to be a workshop type experience for everybody to participate in. Then we break for lunch, and this is approximate timings, obviously. And then we have the real code work beginning. So we have Robert here, who's a technical specialist, evangelist, and a guru, and he's going to help you guys to install Windows on your Macs if you have the room, and also all the developer tools and design tools that are needed for Windows Phone development. So, during good time during the day, we'll kick that off so you have all the tools installed on your laptops. So the goal here really is to start making your first app on the Windows Phone platform. And I know Sebastian told me that you have a project to really develop an app during this class. So hopefully we can get you started and inspired to do that on Windows Phone. I'm a layman. I know nothing about development or design, but I'm told and I've seen proof that it's very easy to develop and very easy and inspiring to design for our platform. So hopefully that will come through during the course of the day. We want to close off with not leaving you after this session, but keeping in contact. So we have a little competition designed for you. And you can always feel free to come back to either one of us with the questions or topics that you want to bring. Does that sound okay?
Yeah.
Cool. So let's dive in straight into Windows Phone. Journey, design, development, and user experience. And I'm going to start with the design piece very briefly and talk about UX for the most part and give you a real tour of Windows Phone. But first of all, I want to take you back a little bit. You may not be familiar, but we've been around in Microsoft in the mobile business for about 10 years or so. We started out with really the handheld computers. Some of you might be familiar with Pocket PCs and Palm Pilots and so forth. That's where we started. And the basic concept and thinking behind that was that, okay, we have a user base which is pretty big on Windows, on the PC. Why not take that down into a smaller format and make it sort of mobile in a sense? So we were very successful. We overtook Palm in quite a few years, very quickly. And then we evolved that business into what became the Windows mobile business, which was phones and handheld computers with phone built in and so forth, which was also very successful in the business space. But then something happened, right? And you all know what happened. iPhone came out. New technologies in UX design and UX interaction. We had new types of screens and touch interfaces. A new paradigm was introduced. And we were left behind in an instant. And it takes time to evolve a platform, design a new platform from scratch. So we took the time. And basically, Windows Phone is the start of a new beginning in a sense. So we threw everything out that we had before. All the previous designers that worked on the platform, all the programmers that worked on the platform, and we brought in new people, new and inspiring people from the outside, from other divisions, to start off from scratch. So a new direction is what Windows Phone is about. A fresh start, as I said. Everything on Windows Phone is brand new. So if you have any sort of old knowledge about Windows Mobile, you can really push that aside and look at this from a fresh perspective. A new philosophy. So previously, we really didn't know who we developed the platform for. Was it the hardware manufacturers that could do their own thing on the platform? Was it the mobile operators like Telia, like Vodafone, and so forth? Was it the end user? Was it the corporate entities? We were unclear. So basically, anybody could do anything on the platform, which in the end grew up to be a pretty complex ecosystem. And the user experience were deteriorating over time. And this is something you start seeing and hearing about on the Android platform today, which is essentially the same as we had before. Right? So an open platform with endless possibilities for customization, for development. But in the end, it grew pretty fragmented, if you will. So our new philosophy is to really put the customer first, the customer or the end user experience first. So we design Windows Phone to be the end user device. So we don't really care about the operators. We don't really care about the OEMs, like the hardware manufacturers. We design it from an end user perspective. So that meant we really had to think twice about design. Okay? So we really had to design the product from the UX, from ground up, to be a hero device for the end user. And create a new experience. So we wanted to create something that didn't mimic all the existing types of paradigms on a phone, all the existing user interfaces. We wanted to create something fresh, something new, something different. And this also meant that we had to take a pretty radical step and introduce a new platform. And this is important for you guys developing and designing for Windows Phone. So basically, Microsoft now takes responsibility from a hardware and software perspective for Windows Phone. So we have a standardized specification for hardware that every OEM manufacturer, hardware vendor, needs to adhere to. So we have standard specs for screen resolution, for sensors, so GPS, proximity sensor, light sensor, processor, CPU. All of that needs to be the same. And it's a very high basic specification. So the implication of that is that you can essentially view Windows Phone as an iPhone from a dev perspective. So you develop for Windows Phone and you know that it will work. Your application will work on all the different phones out there. Regardless if it's a Samsung device, if it's a Nokia device, Nokia devices are coming out pretty soon, LG, HTC, etc. It's one phone, but you have different sizes, you have keyboards, no keyboards, you have difference in spec on the high end, so you can have a higher spec than our minimum specification.
Do you know roughly what happens with the prices? Sort of
Yes.
Where will they start?
It's a very good question because clearly we want to target a pretty large user base. So within this standard chassis spec that we talk about, you have room upwards, right? So typically what you will see now when the new types of devices come out, you will have a price range ranging from roughly, I would say, $300 and up to $600-700. So you have a pretty wide range, but all having the same really high performance. And performance is also a part of the UX experience, the end user experience. So we have a promise to our customers that a Windows Phone will always be very fast and responsive. And that's why we have this high minimum bar, minimum 1 gigahertz processor, etc., etc. So you should always trust that your phone is fast, responsive, and fun to use. But you will have phones, that are cheaper, and up to the very, very high end. So, for example, our minimum spec for the camera today is 5 megapixel autofocus and flash. But you can easily have a 13 megapixel camera if you want. And that might raise the price for a specific target segment. Okay. So to take you a little bit through our journey, I'll show you some videos that are, from when we announced. And this is now 2 years ago when we announced Windows Phone. not to confuse with made Windows phones available to the market. So I'll show this with video to give you a glimpse of what we aspire to do. Oops. Go back.
The smartphone. It's come a long way. What started out as a nice thing to have is now the most important device in our lives. But the industry is in a wall. Each new phone is just a slightly better version than the one before it, adding to what has become a sea of sameness and a focus on apps over the phone experience itself. Don't get us wrong, we love apps, but current smartphones make you use them one at a time, in and out, and on to the next app. Then the next, and the next, rarely working together. So, what do we do now? We start over with a different kind of phone that doesn't make you go in and out of apps, but lets you glance and go. A new experience that keeps your life in motion and lets you flow seamlessly through integrated hubs. Hubs that pull the stuff you want and bring it all to one place. This isn't the next chapter in the story of the smartphone. This is a new beginning. The new Windows Phone 7 series.
Okay, so that was our announced video. Did it come through as, something different? Yeah. And I wanted to show you this because it also shows how we work with brands and design internally. So this is what really before we announced, or no, actually we announced this, and as you noticed, we had Windows Phone 7 series, right? In the end. And we quickly discovered after massive field input that the 7 series was really too long, right? It's a bit of a mouthful. So you talk about your iPhones, right? And then Microsoft is coming and talking about the Windows Phone 7 series range of devices from Samsung. It's too complex. So we have a journey to make in terms of brand and how we communicate brand. So quickly this was changed to only be Windows Phone 7 very quickly after the announcement. You had a question from the back?
No, I was just waiting.
Yeah, so that was just a reflection on how we work internally. So things change quite radically and quickly internally at Microsoft. So what do we aspire to do? Well, when all things and all phones and all platforms basically look the same. So this is an iPhone, this is a Nokia phone on Symbian, this is a BlackBerry device, and this is a Palm, formerly Palm and now dead OS, Web OS. And they all look pretty similar, right? Do you agree?
Yeah. Device design?
Sorry?
You mean the user interface?
Yes, the user interface. So you have a grid of icons, right? So these guys were first, or at least they claimed they were first, and then everybody started to mimic and do the same thing. And it's all, in my opinion, pretty boring. Right? It might be effective and easy to get going, but it's pretty boring and dull interface. So we decided to do something different. Actually, when we did our previous version, we tried to mimic this without a particularly good result. So we basically, again, threw everything we knew about the existing ecosystem and phone interface design out the door and took something from basically from scratch. And we came up with something different.